Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead. Here is ColtsFoot. I don't know what this white powder is on it, but this stuff is actually not even native to North America. It is, ooh, there's a bug on me. It comes from China, believe it or not. So I'm going to snip some of these and we're going to take them in the house and dry them out. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what they're good for. Alrighty? It's called ColtsFoot, obviously, because of the shape of the leaf. Alrighty? And I have a really nice patch of it here. It has a yellow kind of, almost like a tall thin dandelion. But obviously these aren't in flower right now. Alright, we'll be back after. Alrighty. Now we've washed our ColtsFoot in cold running water and we let it drain. And here is a ColtsFoot leaf. See how it looks like the shape of a horse's foot? Okay. Now, at the moment, I have some herbs in my dehydrator. Here's some borage. I'll show you what they look like. These are borage flowers and they were dried. And it's tricky to dry something that small. What I did was, I put the flowers on the tray, but on the tray below, I put a fruit roll-up sheet to catch anything that may fall through. And when I have more borage leaves and flowers, well, flowers mostly, I will dehydrate them and I'll show you what we'll do with those. But this is going to make it easier to dry our ColtsFoot. ColtsFoot, by the way, is not native to North America. ColtsFoot has only been around North America since the 1920s. And it is actually from China. It's one of those invasive species things, folks. But that is a gain to us. I'm expecting every leaf because these are soft and sometimes things will cling to them. So we just want to make sure we're not putting any buggies in our herb jar. I have a really nice big patch out there. And you can make syrups from this because it's good for cough medicine. But really, all you do is make a tea. Well, you don't make a tea, you make a decoction. The difference between a decoction and an infusion is tea. Like you would put herb or a tea bag in a cup and you would pour boiling water over it and let it steep. That is an infusion. A decoction is where you put it in water and you actually bring it up to a boil. That is a decoction. And if you were making this into a tea, you would want to do it in a decoction form. Alright, and when I have these all on the dehydrator, I will dehydrate at 95 degrees like I do with all my herbs. Let's start a new tray here. So I rolled these up to cut them, so now you got to kind of break them apart. I keep thinking these little holes where bugs have bitten are actually bugs, but they're not. And I washed these really well. All I did was put them in under cold running water and rub them between my hands like that. Because, well, folks, we don't have chemical sprays on our lawns, and in the 5 years we've been here, we don't put fertilizers, just what God intended, which was, good old manure and stuff, and even that's reserved for the gardens. This is wild ColtsFoot. Just because it grows in my yard doesn't make it any less wild. We'll put another fresh tray because we want these to dry as quickly as possible. And like I said before, another reason why you want a dehydrator that has a thermostat is because you don't want to cook your herbs. You just want them to dry as naturally as possible. And 95 degrees is what it's been in temperatures lately. However, we've had a lot of humidity, so we will use the dehydrator. Okay, and here's our dehydrator, and it's running at 95 degrees. Sorry, let's just move this. And what I have in here right now, you notice I have a fruit roll-up tray. I have in here some red clover that I harvested this morning. And red clover tea is really excellent for PMS and menopause, mild menopause symptoms. But I've got a fruit roll-up tray on here just to keep them separate. I don't know if there would be any problem. I just think it's good. They're still all going to get aerated, but I just don't want any of my one herb falling into a tray with my other herb because, well, they have different properties. So let's just make sure all these trays are settled. There's our fruit roll-up tray, makes a great divider. And tomorrow we'll continue. All right, we'll see you then. Alrighty, folks. Our herbs are dry, and let's deal with the colt's foot first. Oh, that's lovely and dry. Now, I have a nice jar here to put this in, and I also have my red clover down below, which I'm going to jar up too. Now this stuff, you have to be careful with colt's foot because according to this book, my Complete Medicinal Herbal by Penelope Odie, the decoction of the leaves is good for coughs and phlegm. Now it also says here to be careful, and I am going to read the warning to you so that we don't have any misunderstandings later on. Caution. Use internally only under professional guidance. And remember, folks, I am not a professional. Okay? The herb contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which have caused liver damage in rats. The quantities in the plant are, however, minute, and Swedish research also suggests that in colt's foot, they are destroyed when making a decoction. Hence the reason I'm telling you, not an infusion, a decoction. These are good for coughs and phlegmy coughs. So what I'm going to say is, although I am going to probably use these should the need arise that we get coughs in the winter, I don't recommend it unless you know absolutely for sure what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you're preparing it, okay, folks? But in an SHTF situation, it's good to know that there are medicinal plants out there that once you are aware of what they are, you have something to fall back on. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen the movie Into the Wild. Young man goes off into the wilds of Alaska to find himself. He does. He can't cross the river, so he's got to stay. He runs out of food, and he goes into a book of wild edibles, and he finds what he thinks is this wild edible, and it eventually kills him. Why? Because there was one minute, tiny difference between one plant and another, and he didn't recognize it. The reason I'm telling you this, folks, is because plants can be dangerous unless you know exactly what the plant is you're dealing with and all its properties. Okay? So, before you attempt anything that has cautionary or cautions against it in a book, please, folks, do your research. Check and double check and check with a more knowledgeable person than yourself. Okay? That's the best thing I can tell you to do. Anyway, as soon as I have all of this, I just want to get this out of my tray here, because my jar is almost full. And I can probably get one more harvest. That the best time to harvest colt's foot is in mid-June, the 1st of June to maybe the 2nd week in July. All right, so let's get the rest of this. Let's not do it over my red clover. We'll do this over the table and get this last bit in here. There we go. It's a good thing my table's clean here. And there is a nice amount. Now I'm going to label this, of course, but I also wanted to say, let's go into our book here and look at, now this tells you how to make all these things, syrups and oils and decoctions and whatnot. Now, making herbal remedies, infusion, decoction. Okay, so if we're going to make a decoction of this for a cough, we would use 30 grams of dried herb or 60 grams of fresh herb to 750 milliliters of water. And then you cook it down till it's, now 750 milliliters, I'm not sure about the grams, and I'll look it up before I post this, but 750 milliliters of water is 3 cups. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's 3 cups of water. And then you want to reduce it down to 2 cups of water, and then you strain it, and you drink 1/2 cup 3 times daily of the decoction. That's what that tells us. And that goes for pretty much any herb. So let's go on here. And these old spaghetti jars and stuff, this is a little dusty, but these old spaghetti jars, you may not be able to reuse them for canning, but they're excellent for stuff like this, once they're cleaned, of course. And here's our red clover. Now this red clover has so many uses, but well, I don't want any herbs left. Let's dust off any herbs left on this table so we don't mix them up. Okay. But one of the things I used red clover tea for was when I had my ovaries removed last year, and when I was sick with my ovaries, which was causing me to go into premature menopause. There were so many things I can't have. There's a lot of herbal remedies I can't have because they have anti-inflammatory properties, and I can't have anti-inflammatories. But red clover tea, okay, helps with menopausal symptoms, premenstrual symptoms, and that's just what I can think of off the top of my head. But it's a lovely, refreshing tea. And we just want the leaves and the flowers. And I love red clover tea. It's very delicate. It's not bitter. It's very delicate. You don't really even need sugar. But I actually have some plant stevia powder that I mixed into I have a can of red clover in the cupboard, and it is specifically for tea, and I mixed green powdered dried stevia plant in it for natural sweetening. Because the green powdered stevia is like this. It's just a plant that's been dried, dehydrated, and then ground. Whereas the white stevia is processed and refined. And so we're really not sure how good the powdered stevia is for you when it's been refined. But Wolfie uses it because he's a type 2 diabetic. And it's that or aspartame based products, and I will not allow that in my house. All right, we'll be back in a bit. One thing I forgot, folks, is that when you're storing your herbs and your medicinal herbs, they need to be in usually in like nice dark brown colored jars, but those can get expensive. So Cat's Cradle taught me something. Socks with holes in them. She, after they've been washed, she cuts these off and she puts them over the jars to act as a buffer. If there was an earthquake or something and your jars are on the shelves and they bang together, this will help make the jars dark, because you want your herbs, they lose potency when they are in the light. Now my pantry's pretty dark, but this serves two purposes. It stops the jars from banging together too much, and I think I've got this on upside down. See, look, unless you really whack those together, they're not going to break. So if the world is shaking, your jars are going to be fine. But this also serves to keep your herbs, your medicinal herbs, in the dark or in a darkened state so that they don't lose their potency. Anyway, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead with just another installation on medicinal herbs. Have a great day.